It's January 27th, and this is your Monday Microdose. Today I want to talk a little bit about comfort on the bicycle, more specifically saddle comfort, the saddles that I ride, and how I set them up. So when we talk about comfort on the bike, we have to talk about touch points, and there are 5. You got 2 hands, you got 2 feet, you got 1 backside. Hands and feet, I mean, if you're riding the bikes that I'm riding, pretty easy to deal with. Handlebar height has a lot to do with your hand comfort. And my handlebars are at least level with my saddle, sometimes a tick higher, so hand discomfort really isn't an issue. I'm riding big, wide, flat pedals, and I'm wearing whatever shoe I want to wear, so, foot discomfort isn't really an issue. So then that leaves your tuchus. And that becomes a little bit of a trick because everybody's is different. With the customers that I've helped, if we're talking about a bike where the saddle is at least level, or the handlebars are at least level with the saddle, maybe a tick below, a little bit above, in that range, the Brooks B17 is a home run nearly every time. Now, if you've never ridden a leather saddle, I can tell you I did the same thing that a lot of people do, which is, and how could you ever ride that? The fact of the matter is that we're really not, if you're doing more than just riding around the block, we're not looking for padding. What we need is to support your backside. If you're like me, there's probably plenty of padding back there already. So what we need is support, and that's where the leather saddle comes in, because it supports those sit bones, that ischial tuberosity that actually sit on the saddle. And then with leather, what it does is it's going to conform to those bones over time and really personalize the saddle for you. I haven't ridden really with padded shorts since I started riding a leather saddle. Full disclosure, spending 16 years in a bike shop working, 6 and sometimes 7 days a week, there wasn't a lot of time to do really long rides, but I would say I was up to 30 miles with no padded shorts, and I was fine. Your mileage may vary, obviously. The other question that I get a lot is, I generally, the nose of my saddle on the leather saddles is tilted. And why is that? Well, if you set a B17, or really any of the Brooks leather saddles, flat on a table, that nose sits kind of proud. It actually sits up a little bit to begin with. So if you take that saddle and then try to level it, what you're doing is actually taking the area of the saddle where you sit and you're angling it down. And there will be a feeling of, sliding forward on the saddle. If you angle it up a little bit, it kind of keeps you back in this spot that you want to be in. And kind of the rule of thumb that I use is I'll just point the nose to the center of the handlebars. So if those, like I said, if those bars are, the top of the bar is just a tick above the saddle, I'll tilt the nose up toward that, and that generally gives me a really good sit. Things to consider with a leather saddle is that they do need to be treated, and you don't want to get them wet. And you certainly don't want to ride them wet. So I always have a cover in my bag, and then, once, probably at most twice a year, you want to treat it with some sort of leather treatment, like Proofhide, something like that. Over-treating the saddle is actually not good for it and can cause the leather to wear prematurely. I don't think that, putting a big handful of goop on the saddle every week is going to make it break in any faster. So, yeah, once or twice a year. And initially, when I first get it, I will treat the underside and the top, go from there. Cambium is a little bit of a different story, obviously. It's the same size and shape. If we look at a C17 Cambium and a B17, size and shape is nearly identical. The difference being, obviously, that the C17, the Cambium, is a rubber saddle with either a cotton or a nylon top. Now, this has a similar feel to a B17, not an identical feel. I wasn't sold initially, but I put one on my Bridge Club, and the more I ride it, the more I like it. And oddly enough, they do have a tendency to break in a little bit. They do get a little softer. And because it's rubber and, either nylon or cotton, you don't really have to worry about them getting wet. You don't have to treat them. So for like mountain bikes, or if you're commuting, really using your bike as transportation where you're going to ride, rain, sleet, snow, all that stuff, the Cambium is a good choice. And unlike the B17, I don't really angle the nose up on that. That's a relatively level saddle to begin with, so I set it up level, and, that's where it works for me. Again, your mileage may vary, and I'd be interested to hear, some of your experiences. If you have any other questions regarding saddles, I'll try to answer them as best I can. And I hope this little bit has been informative. If it has, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends. This has been your Monday Microdose. Until next week, be nice, work hard, ride bikes, play music when you can. I'll talk to you soon.